Before we dive into tonight's story, take a second to hit subscribe, leave a comment, and brace yourself, because this case proves how one moment of rage can turn an ordinary day into a criminal nightmare. The sound came first, a metallic scream cutting through the steady hum of treadmills and clanking dumbbells. Then, chaos. On a Tuesday afternoon inside a brightly lit Texas gym, members froze as a 25-pound weight plate sailed through the air, spinning like a whipping. It missed its target by inches and slammed into the rubber flooring with a bone-rattling crash. For a split second, no one moved. Then the scream started. Security cameras would later show the aftermath, people backing away in shock, trainers rushing forward, and one young woman standing rigid, chest heaving, eyes locked on someone she believed had stolen everything from her. Police arrived within minutes. Patrol cars lined the parking lot, red and blue lights flashing against the glass windows of the gym. Inside, deputies separated witnesses while officers reviewed footage frame by frame. What they were watching wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act fueled by jealousy, obsession, and betrayal. The suspect was 24 years old. To most people, she looked ordinary. Athletic build, gym clothes, hair pulled back tight. But investigators quickly realized this wasn't a random outburst. This was personal. According to witnesses, the confrontation began near the free weight area. Words were exchanged, sharp, quiet at first, then louder. Members later recalled hearing a threat that sent chills through the room. Something about ending this, and you knew what you were doing. Then came the plate. Thrown with enough force to be classified as a deadly weapon, police said. Had it connected, the outcome could have been fatal. The alleged victim, a woman believed to be romantically involved with the suspect's partner, survived only because she moved at the last possible second. As officers questioned the suspect, her story shifted. First, she claimed it was a misunderstanding. Then, she admitted she'd gone to the gym knowing the other woman would be there. Her phone revealed a trail of unanswered messages, jealousy-soaked accusations, and something darker beneath the surface, a growing fixation that had been building for weeks. Detectives began piecing together the timeline, a relationship unraveling, suspicions of infidelity, social media posts scrutinized, gym check-ins overlapping too perfectly to ignore. What initially looked like a sudden fit of rage was starting to resemble something far more calculated. By nightfall, the suspect was in custody, charged with aggravated assault. But as investigators dug deeper, one question refused to go away. Why bring that specific weight plate? Why approach at that exact moment? Then came the discovery that shifted the entire case. Hidden inside the suspect's phone was a draft message, never sent, written just hours before the attack. A message that suggested this confrontation wasn't spontaneous at all, but planned. And when detectives read the final line, they realized this wasn't the first time violence had crossed her mind, just the first time it had been caught on camera. By the time the sun rose the next morning, detectives were no longer treating the gym incident as a crime of passion. It was something colder, more deliberate. The suspect sat alone in a holding cell, replaying the same sentence over and over during her interview. "I just wanted her to listen." But investigators didn't believe that anymore, not after what they'd found on her phone. The unsent message was only the beginning. Digital forensics uncovered weeks of obsessive behavior, gym schedules saved in her notes, screenshots of another woman's social media posts, zoomed in on tiny details, a familiar gym mirror, the same brand of water bottle, the same workout times. To detectives, it painted a disturbing picture. Two women unknowingly orbiting the same space, while one watched from the shadows, spiraling deeper into resentment. The alleged victim was interviewed later that day. She arrived visibly shaken, hands trembling as she recounted the moment she felt something rush past her head. She told detectives she'd noticed the suspect weeks earlier, the staring, the tension, the way conversations would abruptly stop when she walked by. At the time, she dismissed it as nothing. Now, she wasn't so sure. She denied having a romantic relationship with the suspect's partner, but admitted they'd talked, enough to ignite suspicion. That gray area became the center of the case. There was no clear proof of betrayal, only perception. And perception, detectives knew, could be just as dangerous. Meanwhile, investigators pulled security footage from neighboring businesses. They found something unsettling. The suspect had arrived at the gym unusually early and spent nearly 30 minutes pacing near the weight racks before the confrontation. At one point, she picked up the same 25-pound weight plate, then put it back. She waited.
To prosecutors, that single moment changed everything. This wasn't a sudden snap, it was a decision. As the case gained attention, rumors began spreading online. Some portrayed the suspect as a scorned lover pushed too far. Others called her dangerous, unhinged, capable of far worse. The truth, investigators suspected, lived somewhere in between. Then came the twist. A former friend of the suspect contacted police with information she claimed she'd been too afraid to share earlier. According to her, this wasn't the first time the suspect had talked about making someone pay. There had been threats before, angry messages, even talk of confronting the woman outside the gym. Detectives reopened old reports, a prior disturbance, a heated argument months earlier that never escalated, until now. As court documents were finalized, the charge remained severe: aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The suspect was released on bond, ordered to stay away from the gym and the alleged victim. But for investigators, the danger didn't feel over. Because while the suspect was free, something critical was still missing. The weight plate had been thrown, the threat had been captured, the motive seemed clear. But the phone data revealed one final detail that made detectives exchange uneasy glances. Just minutes after the incident, before police arrived, the suspect had attempted to delete a folder labeled with a single word: backup. And no one yet knew what had been inside it. The folder labeled backup was recovered 3 days later. Digital analysts worked through deleted data, restoring fragments the suspect believed were gone forever. What emerged wasn't a confession, but it was close enough to chill everyone in the room. Voice memos, draft messages, screenshots stitched together like a roadmap to obsession. In one recording, her voice was calm, disturbingly calm, as she rehearsed what she planned to say during the confrontation. Not if it happened, when. Prosecutors now had what they needed. During the final hearing, the courtroom felt heavy, suffocating. The alleged victim sat in the front row, eyes fixed forward, jaw clenched. The suspect entered in restraints, no longer the furious woman from the gym floor, but someone smaller, quieter. Yet the evidence spoke louder than she ever could. The pacing, the waiting, the choice of the weight plate, the rehearsed words. This wasn't self-defense. This wasn't a momentary lapse. It was intent. When the judge read the charge aloud, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the room went silent. The defense argued no one was hurt, that the plate missed, that fear alone shouldn't decide a person's future. The prosecution disagreed. They reminded the court that survival had come down to inches and instinct. The plea deal came quickly after that. No trial, no dramatic confession, just a guilty plea that spared the courtroom from reliving the footage frame by frame. The sentence included jail time, probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent criminal record that would follow her long after the headlines faded. But the damage was already done. The alleged victim stopped going to that gym. Then she stopped going to gyms at all. Loud metallic sounds made her flinch. She changed her routines, her routes home, her sense of safety. In her statement, she said something that stuck with detectives long after the case closed. "She didn't hit me," she said, "but she still changed my life." As for the suspect, friends slowly disappeared. The partner at the center of it all vanished from public view, never charged, never named, yet leaving behind a trail of destruction without lifting a hand. Investigators would later admit that betrayal didn't have to be real to be deadly. It only had to be believed. Months later, the gym replaced the flooring where the plate had landed. No plaque, no reminder, just another spotless workout space where members lifted weights, unaware of how close that place had come to becoming a crime scene with a body instead of a dent. But detectives remembered. They remembered how jealousy hardened into fixation, how fixation turned into planning, and how planning almost turned into tragedy. Because sometimes the most dangerous weapon isn't a 25-pound weight plate. It's the moment someone decides they've got nothing left to lose. And if you think this case was intense, the next one will stay with you even longer. Make sure you're subscribed because you won't want to miss what's coming next.